Thank you, Chris. Well, thank you, Greg and Bob, members of the leadership team, Chris, Chaplain, Peter. I'll tell you what I've learned after 4 years in this role, which I will celebrate next Wednesday, June 24th, 4 years as Solicitor General. That our province is large. Our province was here before us. Our province will be here long after us. Our province does not belong to any one of us. It actually belongs to all of us. For me, Greg, there's been nothing more important than learning from this association and the others how important it is to be respectful and understand that the role that you and your members play is actually so important to our welfare. And many times, Greg, and we've spoken about this, the members, the firefighters, are never going to be thanked for something that they were intrinsically responsible to do. I don't think that's fair today. The risks that you take every day to keep our community safe across our large province is immense. All we have to do is to understand every single day somewhere the bell will go in a fire hall and the firefighters will come forward to respond, not knowing what they will see. A few minutes ago, before I arrived, I spoke to the chief to find out how the volunteer firefighters are who responded to a most horrible tragedy outside of Palmerston, Ontario this past Saturday. So the question that I ask to the body here today is, how do you unlive what you see? How can you be there for your members to make them understand that they will see things in their career most certainly that it will be next to impossible to unlive? And who will be there for them? I've really had a front row seat to understand what it means to be a firefighter by deciding that I would learn, that I would listen, that I would champion, that I would support, that I would move the needle on the issues that are of common, urgent importance, and that I would fight hard to support the priorities of this organization morning, noon, and night. Coming here for my 4th time means something to me. It means that the fire helmets that were presented to me most recently by my own Toronto Professional Firefighters Association that sits right in my office mean something. It means that the men and women that put on that helmet in response to an emergency take on enormous risk. The least they should have is a government of the day that understands this and has their backs. 4 years ago, almost to the day, on my first day on the job, Premier Ford asked to speak to me. And I was nervous, to be quite honest. It's one thing being elected. It's another thing being appointed into this role. It's another thing understanding that the role is huge. And you have to be willing to learn. And you have to do it the way that Frank Sinatra sang it. You've got to do it your own way. Otherwise, you're never going to understand the totality of the job. But I had Greg there, and I had his colleagues at the OAFC, and I had his colleagues at the PAO and the TPA and the OPPA. I had his colleagues there to help me understand the seriousness of this role. But this role of Solicitor General is also a role of advocacy. It's a role that when you understand what the issues are, what the priorities are, you have a responsibility of making change. Friends, I come from no political background. I was drafted. I'm proud of that. I'm proud that Premier Ford saw fit to draft somebody that's only qualifications was that he loved his province, he loved his country and his community, and he pledged to do everything that he could to make things better. And 4 years, almost to the day, there hasn't been one day of regret. There hasn't been one day of frustration. There's been days of tears. but there's been days of joy too. Last week was a really tough week. To lose police officers in the line of duty, or firefighters, or people that work in fire services, as we've lost a call operator at Toronto Fire Service just very recently, means a lot. It means that lives are upended. It means that we don't have that surety that a person will come home at the end of a shift like they should and be united with their families again. Unfortunately, I can't tell you that those days will not repeat itself. But what I can tell you, and one thing that I've learned after 4 years, is I have seen resiliency when others see fear. I've seen strength when others see doubt. I've seen unity when others see division. And I can tell you this, Premier Ford has never wavered, will never waver, will stand behind the OPFFA every day and understand the urgency in moving forward the priorities that you have. To be honest, I underestimated how hard it is to get things done in a timeline that we all would want to see. I spoke to Connie Dichuk, Greg, just a few hours ago, saying, when is the shovel coming in the ground at the Caledon Centre, the respite center that Runnymede talked about? I got an updated timeline, and I understand everything has its place. That project is moving forward. That shovel will go in the ground. That center will be built. That center will be helping firefighters. It will. And in spite of what bureaucracy says that you can't do, and I know it's taken a long time, but I am absolutely committed under my watch to see simultaneous notification be implemented, be tested, and take place all over so that I don't have to go back to Thunder Bay or Sault Ste. Marie and ask the same questions. Why are you not moving? Why is this truck not leaving? Because we don't know if we're being called. Greg, this has been a hard hill to climb. Last year I was with you and I said I'm going any day to Treasury Board to get the money to make sure that we have the pilot, that we have the technology, we have the steps that we need to move it forward. And I did. I got the money and I reported it back to the OPFFA. And now the ministry will carry out its work. I had a briefing with them today and I told them, speed it up. Get the job done. Lives are on the line. People don't care who comes first to save a life, if it's a firefighter or a paramedic. And we've changed the narrative and the paradigm that a life is precious, a life should be saved. And Greg, I'm committed under my watch with the support of Premier Ford to reporting back the next time we're together on meaningful progress. And that's something that I'm going to do. Thank you. And when it comes to the members' welfare top of mind every single day, if we understand how can we not unlive what we see, then we have to recognize that a member's welfare is top of mind. It's no longer acceptable to go back to the old days, and we know that a firefighter should not receive early screening, early detection because of their age. They should receive it because of their profession. I've worked very hard with Minister Piccini, a great friend of the fire services, a great friend of the firefighters. I've worked hard with Minister Sylvia Jones, my immediate predecessor, a person who is unbelievably committed and proud of the fire services, including your own in Caledon, I might add. But I'll tell you this, under my watch, I will not stop, I will not rest. I'm absolutely committed in seeing things change, where one day a firefighter, one day soon, will go to their doctors and say, I'm a firefighter. And the doctor will say, we will test you to make sure that you are screened and you are prevented from hopefully not getting a disease that will alter your life. And I'm going to make sure that day happens. And finally, and something that I am very proud of through the support of this association, we came forward with the fire protection grant. Friends, this grant just didn't happen. This grant just didn't go poof like a magician. This grant happened because the advocacy of your leadership team came to the government and said, if we are not in it for our members, if we're not in it for their welfare, what are we in it for? So we need for the first time a grant to come forward and plant a flag, plant a tree, and to say the government has to be committed year after year and develop and design and support a program that every single fire service, every single fire hall, with no exception, would be part of the fire protection grant. And this year we're in year 3. Committed 2 years ago to support and to get our finance minister in support of a $30 million commitment over 3 years to help us execute this plan. And I'll be honest, I thought the first year went pretty good until I found out how much equipment costs. And I'd go to the fire halls. I remember going to St. Catharines, if anybody's here from St. Catharines. I said, show me the machine that you got with the government grant. And they said, Minister, your grant only paid for half of the machine. I said, that's not fair. I sat with the Premier, we sat with Greg, we sat with Rob Grinwood. And even before I called the finance minister, I said, Premier, we got to do the right thing. We got to double it. And he said, okay, you go in and tell them that we're going to double the grant. But I had not called the Treasury Board president either. We moved it from 10 to 20 million. This year, the third year, will be again 20 million. And Greg, we're going to make sure that that grant does the right thing. Members' welfare is top of mind. And I've traveled the province constantly, consistently. Just a few weeks ago, I said to my staff, we got to stop into as many fire services as we can. And we were in Burlington, and we were in Oakville, and we were in Brampton, and we were in Toronto, all on the same day, reminding them that this fire protection grant is designed to help keep our members safe. Yep, it's true. Our province is large, 2,400 kilometers from Cornwall to Fort Francis. And if you go further north, it's even larger. It's large. There's fire services all throughout our province. People come forward with a calling, with a yearning that they want to keep our community safe. They put on a uniform, Greg, not necessarily understanding what the day will unfold. I listened to the anthem that was sung so beautifully today, bilingually. I listened to those words which we should take to heart. True patriot love. In all of us command. Father, what are we commanded to do? We're commanded, I think, to love our province, love our country, and love our community that much more. However long I'm blessed to be in this role, I'll tell you this. I'm going to take that as my clarion call, that I will not stop. I will not rest. I will keep going. I will do whatever I can today and every day to advocate for the welfare of your members. I'm here because there's nowhere else I would ever want to be on an important conference, on an important day, to remember those that gave their lives so we could live. Yes, our province is large, but our province belongs to all of us. Thank you. Merci beaucoup. And miigwech.